My dear brothers, respected sisters, elders, scholars, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of the beautiful things about our religion isn't just the moral code that it provides us with and allows us to navigate through these very rugged and treacherous pathways and provides us with clarity on ethical issues as well as matters of jurisprudence and personal conduct and behavior and the like. One of the great things that it provides us with is a sense of direction in terms of what we should aim for. What are the kinds of ambitions that we're supposed to have? What is truly worthwhile? When my time, my energy are ultimately limited commodities that I have at my disposal in this world and in this life, what should I spend them on? What is worthwhile? What isn't worthwhile? And also, how do I get there? Imagine that you have a loved one who is ill. May Allah heal all of those who are in a state of illness and pain. But if you have someone who's in that situation, it's hard enough to find a physician, a specialist, a consultant, a doctor who can make an accurate diagnosis of the nature of the illness. And then it's even harder to find someone who's able to give you a prescription for how to treat that illness that's been correctly diagnosed. Then you have someone who can make an accurate diagnosis, provide instructions as to how to treat the illness, but cannot provide the medication that you require. And in such a case, even with a correct diagnosis and a means to cure the illness, without the medications that you require, what's the point? So imagine you have someone who can provide all of these three: an accurate diagnosis, a treatment plan, as well as the medication that you need to treat those illnesses that the patient may suffer from. Islam provides us with all three. Our faith tradition and the teachings of the Holy Prophet and his immaculate household diagnose our most debilitating and innermost diseases. And they do so with an incredible mind-bending degree of accuracy. They also provide a treatment plan, and they give you the medicine that you need to treat those illnesses. So as I said, Islam gives you, not only does it depict your condition in a manner that makes it very clear where the problem lies, it also tells you how to treat it and gives you the tools that you need. So back to our original topic, which is, what is worth my while? Islam tells me exactly what it is. What isn't worthy of my pursuit? Islam also tells me that, you know what, this isn't worth it. Your life's too short. You're too valuable to be in a constant rat race in order to achieve goals A, B, C, and D. And then it tells me how to reach those lofty ambitions that it gives me as objects that I should pursue using the things, the tools, the skills, the life, the time, the effort, the energy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. Is that clear so far? Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam has a beautiful hadith in which he says, listen carefully, he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ مَعَالِ الْأُمُورِ وَيَكْرَهُ سَفَاسِفَهَا. This hadith, before I translate it, is mentioned in the context of an encounter between Al-Kumayt, who was a poet and a sincere servant of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, who would be invited by the Imams to recite the eulogies of Imam al-Hussain. Imagine being a reciter that Imam al-Sadiq would invite you to his home. He was an incredible person. The Imam has prayed for him in ways that we can only wish the Imam of our time would pray for us, which of course is possible if we are able to fine-tune our sincerity and exert every effort in the service of the Imams alayhimus salatu wassalam. But regardless, I digress. The Imam had a conversation with Al-Kumayt. In it, he said this. He said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ مَعَالِ الْأُمُورِ. Remember this. وَيَكْرَهُ سَفَاسِفَهَا. What does that mean? Allah verily loves the most lofty things. Ma'ali means something that is sublime, lofty, great. Allah loves those great things. The greater the ambition, the more Allah loves it. يُحِبُّ مَعَالِ الْأُمُورِ. Then to solidify this concept even more, the Imam says Allah despises safasifaha. Safasifaha, in a nutshell, means petty things, trivial things, worthless things. Allah hates those. Allah, the creator of the universe, loves lofty ambitions and achievements while despising and detesting things that are trivial. Does this apply universally, you might ask? Does it apply across the board? The answer is absolutely. The Imam is speaking in absolute terms. He's not saying Allah loves lofty acts of worship. Allah loves lofty ambitions of servitude. No. He's saying this is a universal rule that should be applied in your life. Obviously, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves something, what does that mean in practice? It means that Allah blesses it. Allah gives it strength. Allah amplifies it. It means that you're able to fulfill your ambitions with the help and divine backing of the creator of the universe. So let's try and apply this in different areas before we kind of draw some practical conclusions. The Holy Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him and his family, before declaring his divine mandate and announcing to everyone that he'd been sent as a messenger from God, once traveled to the land of Ta'if, which is north of the Arabian Peninsula. It has nice weather, lots of valleys, lots of greenery. It's a beautiful place. The Prophet went there on a trip. While there, this stranger, random person, welcomed the Prophet as a guest in his home. Basically, he didn't do much. He gave him a bowl of milk and maybe a loaf of bread to eat. After a while, this man received news that the person he had invited to his home has declared his prophethood and is now an incredibly powerful, much beloved personality. So what does he do? He departs Ta'if and heads towards Medina. When he arrives in Medina, he comes to visit the Holy Messenger. And he says the following, listen carefully, this hadith is in the blessed book of Al-Kafi. He says to him, أنا الرجل أو أنا صاحب أو أنا رب البيت الذي أكرمك. I'm quoting him verbatim. Rabbul Bayt means I'm the owner of the house. Akramak means I am the one who honored you. I looked after you. I took care of you. Now, right off the bat, you know something's wrong. If someone had the holy messenger of God as his guest, he should ideally feel honored for doing so, not the other way around. Instead of saying to the Holy Prophet that I was blessed to have you as my guest, Ya Rasulullah, and I'd like to thank you for blessing my home, instead he's flipping it around. It's as if he's done the Prophet a favor. He says to him, Ana Rabbul Bayt, I'm the owner of the house, and I'm the one who honored you. فقال له رسول الله مرحبا بك سل حاجتك. Welcome. Is there something you need? He said, yes, I'd like you to return the favor. Rasulullah said, anything, whatever you want. He said to him, again, he's probably sitting there thinking, how can I highball this transaction? I offered him a cup of milk and a loaf of bread. Now he's in a position of authority and prestige, and so let me get something big in return. What did he ask the Prophet? He said to him, I want 200 sheep, which is a highly overpriced transaction if you ask me, but it shows how stupid this man was. And the Prophet said as much. He said, you want 200 sheep? He said, yes, along with the shepherds to look after the sheep. So the Prophet said, you know what? Take from my own personal money, pay this man. He wants 200 sheep, give him 200 sheep. Shepherds to look after the sheep, give him to the shepherds as well. The man, thinking that he's just made a profitable transaction, was delighted and he walked out. As soon as he walked out, Rasulullah said, what would have hurt this man had he asked for what the elderly woman of Bani Israel asked Musa alayhi salam? Remember the hadith that I quoted earlier. Inna Allah yuhibbu what? Ma'alil umur. Lofty things. The Imam is telling us to have high ambitions. The Imam is telling us to set our eyes on the highest possible objectives. So the companions asked Rasulullah, they said to him, what's the story with the elderly woman and Musa? Rasulullah said, one day, Musa received instructions from God to go and locate the grave of Yusuf ala nabiyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam on a mission. And so Musa goes out, he's looking for the grave of Yusuf, he can't find it until he reaches an area where they tell him there's this really old woman, and if anybody knows the location of the grave of Yusuf, it's this woman. She's been in this area for a long time, she knows every nook and cranny. And so Musa went to her. He said to her, do you know where the location of Yusuf's grave is? She said, yes, I do, but not before you pay me the price. He said, what do you want? Rasulullah is retelling the story. I will guarantee, let's say for example, that you will live prosperously throughout your life. I'll give you money, I'll give you means. She said, oh, no, that's not my price. He said, all right, I will guarantee that you'll enter paradise. What more could you want? She said, no, not until you give me the price that I demand. At this point, Musa is getting frustrated. He's offering her the dunya. She says, that's not enough. He offers her the akhirah. She says, that's not enough. Allah revealed to Musa alayhi salam, he could speak. Allah spoke to him. He said to him, Musa, ask her what she wants. Whatever she asks for, give it to her. إن الله يحب معالي الأمور. Allah loves it when a person has these high ambitions. He said to her, what do you want? She said, I don't just want to enter paradise. I want to enter paradise and be raised with you in your station at the highest levels of paradise. Musa did as instructed by God. He said, sure, you can have that. She said, well, this is the grave. She gave him the directions. The Prophet is saying, this man could have asked for so much more than 200 sheep. What's wrong with him? In other words, even when it comes to our dua, my brothers and sisters, we need to have lofty ambitions. That's not to say that you shouldn't ask for smaller, meager things. It's fine. Ya Dawood utlub hatta milha ta'amika minni, the hadith says. Ask me even for your table salt, right? But when you feel that you've connected on a Thursday night, or in the shrine of Imam Hussain, or on the night of destiny, or those moments when you've established a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you know that this window won't remain open for long. You know that this feeling that you have is not going to stay forever. Ask for the most important things. By the way, on this subject, a lot of people ask me, well, what should I ask for? Right? There are 2 points that I'll mention here. There's plenty of things we could discuss about this, but 2 points. Number 1, aim high, as high as you can. Number 2, read the actual texts of the du'as. The Imams teach us through their prayers, through their supplications, in Sahif al-Sajjadiyya, in the du'as of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Fatima al-Zahra, and there are, by the way, collections, entire collections, where supplications that are attributed to the individual members of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam have been brought together in multiple volumes of works, not just Mafatihul Jinan. Read those. It doesn't get much better than the prayers made by the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt themselves. So we're supposed to do this. Which reminds me, there was a man, the hadith mentions that he was a servant of Rasulullah. And the hadith actually spells out what he used to do. So he would spend the night with the Holy Prophet. He would bring him water if he wanted to perform ablution and wudu. And his name was Ka'b. So one day, he said to the Prophet said to him, you've served me for such and such time. What would you like in return? Let me just pause here for a second and say that the vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are never indebted to anyone. Which means that even if you do something small for them, they'll make sure you're compensated. And you're compensated well. They're never indebted. Which is why after the 10th of Muharram, we are tempted to address the Imam of our time and say, Ya Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, whatever we did for ourselves. We're not here to say that we've done you any favors. Hasha lillah. Who am I to do you any favors? But allow me to fish in murky waters for a little bit here and say that if you'd like to give me anything and there's no one who's capable of giving me anything, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His proofs and His vicegerents, then look after me, look after my family, my children, my descendants, and give us this one thing that will always board your ark, that will always be with you. As'alullah. We say this in Ziyarat Warith. As'alullah bish-sha'n alladhi laka 'indah. This is one of those things where I'm not ashamed of actually asking the Imam. I ask Allah in your position with you, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As'alullah bish-sha'n alladhi laka 'indah وَبِالْمَحَلِّ الَّذِي لَكَ لَدَيْهِ, and in the rank that you occupy in the eyes of God. أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة. Keep me with you in this dunya and in the akhirah. Keep me as a slave who's inadequate, who's all over the place, who's a delinquent, not the best of slaves by any measure, but keep me with you. Allow me to be in this caravan. If you're going to give me anything, make it this. So the Holy Prophet says to this man, he says, you've spent, this much time with me. Is there something you'd like in return? He said, maybe tomorrow I'll ask, Ya Rasulullah. He went and came back the next day. He said to him, Ya Rasulullah, I want to be raised with you on the day of judgment. He basically asked what that elderly woman asked Musa. Rasulullah said to him, Man allamaka hadha? Where'd you learn that from? That's a statement that only a smart person would make. You didn't ask for money, you didn't ask for a house, you didn't ask for a good job, you didn't ask to pass the test, you didn't ask to live in a comfortable country, you asked for this. He said to him, Ya Rasulullah, I spent the entire night thinking that these things, no matter how valuable they are in the eyes of people, no matter how comfortable they make my life, they'll deplete, they'll disappear at some point. No matter how much money I get, either the money will run out or my life will run out. When I hear people talk about this guy or the other, and I'd hate to taint the minbar of Imam Hussain with their names, he's the world's first trillionaire. I'm like, what's he going to do with $1 trillion? How much pleasure can he gain? How many 5-star Michelin-rated restaurants is he going to go to? How many private jets is he going to buy? How many houses is he going to build or purchase? At the end of the day, it's a very, very scarce resource, pleasure, right? Either the money will run out because he'll lose it all, or his life will run out, and there's literally nothing he can do to stop that. And so I thought about this all night long, Ya Rasulullah, before I came to this conclusion. If I'm going to ask for something, I'll make sure it's something that lasts, something that's worthwhile. Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salatu wassalam says in a beautiful hadith, he says that the believers and those endowed with the intellect, those who can see through the fog of dunya and temptation and pleasure and can see reality, they have thought about what they should invest their time in and their lives in. And they've realized أن هذه الدنيا لا تنال إلا بالمشقة, that this dunya and a comfortable life will only be achieved through hard work. It never comes easy. وأن الآخرة لا تنال إلا بالمشقة, and the afterlife is also something that you can achieve only through hard work and struggle and toil. فاختاروا من المشقة أبقاها. So they actually sat down and thought about it, and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna have to work hard either way. I might as well pick the difficult path that lasts, not the one that ends, not the one that finishes. I'll pick the one that lasts. It's hard either way. There's no ifs or buts about it. You think they have it easy, those people? You think their lives are happy? I have plenty of stories of people that I met personally, and I've seen that they have more money than they can count, and yet they're miserable. One of them is a good friend of mine. May Allah bless him. May Allah give him a long, healthy life. But when I last saw him, I noticed how miserable he was. He was making phone call after phone call, fighting with this guy, screaming at that guy, speaking to his lawyer, threatening to sue someone who had taken money from him. At some point, I had to intervene. I honestly thought to myself, maybe he's going to be offended, maybe he's going to be upset if I say something. But then I thought, as a good friend, I need to step in. I said to him, brother, stop. Hang up that phone call. I want to talk to you. So he hung up. He was all worked up. He was angry. I said to him, man, you have your health. You have your family. You have more money that you can spend in your entire life. Enough. Stop it. Just enjoy your life, man. What's wrong with you? He said, no, this guy stole money from me. That guy did this, that. I said, just stop. Stop. What are you doing to yourself? And I mentioned the hadith to him as well. I said to him, Amir al-Mu'mineen saw somebody running after someone. And he looked at the person that was running behind the other guy. And it was clear that he was trying to catch him because he had stolen something or he wanted something from him. And so the Imam said to him, you know what you're like? He said, look at you. You're sweating and you're running, you're out of breath. And, you know, the Imam said to him, you're like someone who's sitting on a horse. And you've got an enemy who's sitting behind you. But the horse is running, which means you can't stop so that you could get to your enemy. So instead, in order to hurt him, you take your sword and you stab yourself in the stomach so that you could hurt the guy behind you. Look at what you're doing to yourself. It's not worth it. Let it go. Most of our fights, our disagreements are exactly like that. Let it go. It's not worth it. Especially these personal feuds, especially things that tear apart families. Just let it go. Look at what you're doing to yourself. You get worked up and angry and frustrated the whole time. Your life is miserable because you're trying to get back at someone who once insulted you in some way. Anyway, so Islam, going back to our main topic, teaches us to aim for lofty things. Now, what is a worthwhile objective? What is it that's worthwhile? What is something that you can describe as being a great ambition? Because the things that may be deemed valuable in the public eye aren't always valuable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't that true? If you get bad financial advice from someone and they tell you that this stock is worth a lot, you know, it may be really cheap now, but tomorrow something might happen, the prices will go up and you'll make this much money. But ultimately, bad financial advice is bad financial advice. Most of the advice you get about this dunya is bad financial advice. Things that are deemed valuable in the eyes of most people. What is it? It's a car, right? People love cars. A nice car, a flashy car, a car with a lot of tech, a car that looks nice, a car with this kind of color, a car with this many size wheels, a car with this. But is it really valuable? Is it truly valuable? Why? What do you think makes this car coveted and desired? What is it? Exactly. If you try to break it down and evaluate the actual value of a car, is that it doesn't break down, right? And it gets you from A to B, right? That's what you need. And it's a huge luxury if it's got a working air conditioner, especially in this weather, especially with climate warming, right? If it ticks these 3 boxes, that's enough. Oh, especially in the world of our respected sisters, may Allah bless them. The fashion accessories, the clothes, the designer bags, the shoes. You know that they spent no more than $15 on this, having it made in some slum or some factory in China or Vietnam or the Philippines or whatever, and they're selling it to you for $400, $500. So clearly, what you're buying is the label. What you're buying is the logo. You're buying the name. You're not actually buying something that has intrinsic value, are you? Which is why I gave a whole lecture last Fatimiyya, where I said that this is religiously problematic. It may be haram, if not in principle, then at least in terms of its secondary implications, because it could be deemed as a form of israf, and it could be deemed as a form of spending exorbitant amounts of money on something that is not within your means, which means that you have to pay khums on it, which means that you don't have sha'niyya. And I don't want to get into the jurisprudential dimensions of this. You can refer back to the Fatimiyya lecture from last year. My point is that you're being duped, you're being deceived, you're being conned. And in spending money on these things, what you're doing is you're supporting their entire value system. You're wearing their logos and turning yourself into a walking advertisement for this brand, which is a brand that preaches decadence and immorality and the most disgusting of acts. All you have to do is read up on these people. Read up on these companies, their executives, their CEOs, and the value systems that they try to shove down our throats. And how they do so, using clever marketing and using the consumer to become an advertisement for them. Buy something that's good value, that has utilitarian use, that improves your quality of life, sure. But most of the time it's not about that. It's about the brand, it's about the logo, it's about the name. And it's about something which I want to talk about today, and maybe if we run out of time tomorrow, inshallah, which is referred to in our hadith corpus and the traditions of the Ahlul Bayt as hubbu shuhra, the love of being famous, the desire of standing out, which is a desire that is intrinsic to every single one of us. We want to stand out. We want to have people pointing to us. We want publicity. We want fame. Our traditions talk about this from different angles, and it's quite nuanced, but broadly speaking, we have narrations talking about hubbul jah, the love of status. Hubbul shuhra, the love of fame. Again, these things are slightly different. There is nuance, but they all broadly fall into the same category. It's about recognition, it's about validation, it's about fame, it's about people honoring us and respecting us and loving us, right? Hubbur ri'asa is another branch of this, and we have narrations about that. The love of authority, the love of being in charge. Why do people love being in charge? They love it because it gives them this aura, it gives them the recognition, it gives them the respect. Have you noticed how again, I'm not going to judge anybody, but if someone really famous, like a Hollywood A-lister or a star athlete or some big social media influencer, someone in this category, if you saw them on the street, wouldn't you point to them? Wouldn't you say, oh, maybe I could get a selfie? Maybe I could get a picture with them? Maybe I could have a word with them, right? Even though you might not be in the same field that they're in. I've seen people who say, I've seen this person, he's really famous. Even though they don't recognize the person, they couldn't care less about them and what they actually do, but they'll still want to take a selfie to send it to their WhatsApp chat, to their group, their circle of friends. Hey, I don't know who this is, but he's famous or she's famous. So we have a desire to be famous, to acquire fame and prestige and status and whatnot, and we adore people who have those qualities, which again is based on the fact that we like to have what they have, right? We don't love them for being famous. We want to be famous, but because we can't achieve that, then the next best thing is that we associate with someone like that. And if you saw someone like that, you're going to be telling your family about that at the dinner table. Hey, guess who I saw today? Who cares? Who the hell is this person? What is their value system? What is their moral conduct like? What's their behavior like? Do they believe in God? Do they not believe in God? Are they good people? Are they bad people? Are they good husbands, good wives? Nobody asks these questions. He or she is famous, and that's enough to make them important in my eyes. That's a sickness. That's a disease which needs to be cured before it consumes us, before it completely destroys us. So, what is the diagnosis? The diagnosis is that we all suffer from an underlying condition and a disease to be famous, to be recognized, to be validated, to be acknowledged, to be respected. That's it. That's the disease. Is it always bad though? And the answer is no. Just like a lot of other things, just like money. Money's not in itself bad. It's when it's left unchecked that it becomes bad. So how can our love for fame and recognition and validation and respect and honor in the community be a good thing? Because we don't have a lot of time to discuss this, and it might need workshops, but I'll give you just one simple example. If you bought a pair of new shoes for your child, let's say he or she is 5 years old, what's the child gonna do? Be really excited, number one, and then make sure they go around and show it to all their friends, the neighbors, the kids in school, right? Hey, look at my new pair of sneakers. Look at my new shoes. So this is intrinsic. It's something that we find in all of us. However, someone who's an adult, someone who's endowed with the intellect, someone who has developed, thanks to their intellect, inhibitions that would prevent me from leaving this desire unchecked, doesn't act this way. When was the last time you saw someone buy an expensive pair of shoes and then come and tell the people around them in the majlis, hey, did you see my new shoes? Do you see how nice they are? Do you know how expensive they are? Sometimes you find people like that, and that just tells you that their level of intellect is so low that they haven't produced the inhibitions that an adult, normal person would have. You know there's something wrong with them if they're constantly trying to show you that they've bought, this new purse or this designer bag or what have you. You know there's something wrong with them. You know they lack aql. Why? Because al-aqlu iqalun min al-jahl. Aql is like a rope that ties you up, restrains you, constrains you, prevents you from acting like a child. You're an adult, you're not a child. Another example is this. Imagine that you have, let's say a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old. When they get hungry, they start to get cranky. When they get cranky and you don't put food on the table for them, they might start acting up and going a little bit crazy and might even start crying and screaming, and no amount of justifications will do any good. If you tell them that the food's going to be ready in 10 minutes, 10 minutes in their mind is an eternity. And so for this child, when you say the food is ready in 3 days or 10 minutes, for them it's exactly the same, right? So they start acting up. It's like when children are in a car and you're headed somewhere and they keep asking you, when do we get there? When do we get there? And it doesn't matter what you tell them. Like, I've tried this myself. Whether you say we'll get there in 3/4 of an hour or you say we'll get there in 5 minutes, the answer I get is always exactly the same. Oh my God, that's too far. But for an adult, because they've developed these inhibitions, imagine you need to go to the bathroom or you're hungry. You inhibit those desires. You restrain them, you constrain them, you take control over them. So if you're in an important meeting at work, you're not, the second your body experiences a drop in the sugar levels, and the brain neurons fire up and interpret that as the feeling of hunger, you're not going to just storm out of the meeting. Why? Because you're an adult. Why? Because you're able to control those urges. And so you wait out the meeting until it finishes. And at that point, when there's a break, you go and get a grab to eat. Part of the reason that we're told to fast in the holy month of Ramadan is to strengthen those inhibitions. Much of the worship acts and rituals in Islam are designed to control and inhibit and keep these desires and urges in check. To turn you into a human being, not someone who's driven with desire and temptation. That's what makes us different to animals. That's why I said this is the aql. Animals don't have aql. And so if they want to eat, they'll just go and eat. If they don't find it, they'll find it one way or another. They'll eat. An animal might eat its own offspring. Why? Because it's hungry. And it can't compute that these are my children. I brought them into this world. I got pregnant and had these little puppies or calves or whatever you want to call them. But because an animal lacks those inhibitions that have been given to us by the blessings of the aql and the intellect, right? They'll do anything, whatever it takes. So, one of those desires that is intrinsic to us is the desire to be famous, the desire to be acknowledged, the desire to be respected. Is it bad in itself? The answer is no. Why? Listen carefully to this. Because being respected is something that allows me to be self-respectful. If I want other people to acknowledge me and to honor me and to respect me, then I must exercise my intellectual prowess and ensure I don't do something that would be deemed stupid and humiliating, right? And so, in a way, having this desire is a great thing. If I didn't have it, imagine if I did not have any desire for self-respect. The ungodly things we would do and the way we would behave would be completely out of whack. I must act in a manner that would get other people to respect me. The problem is when this desire is left unchecked. The problem is when I try to elicit people's respect and honor through unlawful means. For instance, you're sitting in a gathering, a sin is committed. Your instinctive urge says, I can't disrupt this meeting. I can't speak to my best friend who just slandered someone who's not there and tell her, for instance, that what you just did is haram because this makes her uncomfortable. And if she becomes uncomfortable, what will she say then? God knows, my respected brothers and sisters, how many sins are committed under the pretext of what will they say though? What will they say? You know that this gathering is problematic because it's my cousin's wedding or because it's my best friend's engagement party or whatever. And you know that the sins that are being committed right there are transgressions against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we choose not to disrupt the gathering. We choose not to storm out. We choose not to say a word under the pretext of what will they say though. God knows how many sins are committed. God knows how many sins are never prevented as easily as they could have been under this pretext. So again, to have self-respect is a great thing, but not when it's kept unchecked. Not when it happens at the expense of my values and my morals. Sometimes I need to do things that are unpopular. I need to say things that will ostracize me. I need to step up when the entire community, my entire family will be upset. So be it. So be it. Speak out. Which is why we have these narrations. Listen carefully. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, there is nothing more detrimental. ذِئْبَانِ ضَارِيَانِ. Those of you who have had chickens or any kind of small birds know that one of the gravest danger against these domesticated animals is what? These animals you see on the road at night. I've been seeing a lot of foxes for some reason. Is that normal? It's like a thing here? Anyway. If a fox finds its way into your backyard or wherever you keep these birds, have you seen the mayhem they leave in their wake? Have you seen what they do? You come back the next morning and it's like a massacre, right? Even though foxes are glorified cats, there's nothing special about them. They'll run. The second you look at them, they'll run. Do you know what's much more vicious than a fox? It's a wolf. The Imam uses the example of wolves. He says, imagine you have a flock of sheep. وَقَدْ غَابَ عَنْهَا الرَّاعِي. A flock of sheep that doesn't have a shepherd looking after it, right? He says, if you can imagine two wolves, واحد من أولها والآخر من آخرها, one attacking from the front, the second attacking from the back, right? From the back. Can you imagine the barbarity, the savagery, the blood, the carnage that these two wolves can cause to this flock of helpless sheep? The Imam says, you know how damaging, how detrimental, how deadly and lethal such an ambush would be. There is something even more lethal to the religion of a believer. What is it, Yabna Rasulullah? The Imam says, Hubbul mal wa hubbur ri'asa. The love of money and the love of prestige, authority, fame. We live in a world, my brothers and sisters, that is governed by social media and that is dominated by the like button and that is completely destroyed by the fact that social media creates a feedback loop. Do you know what a feedback loop is? Those who know about sound engineering know what it is. It's when the system picks up a sound, that sound is amplified through the echo effect, and the echo effect keeps amplifying the feedback that it gets, and that's why you have what they call a feedback, which is this really nasty noise you hear when the system isn't engineered right. Social media is a feedback loop, which means that we do things in order to attract people's attention so that it makes us feel good about ourselves, so that it makes us famous. Not world-class famous, mind you. Most people are just happy with like 20 people smashing that like button. That's how petty, that's how trivial it is, this desire of ours. And so we do those things. We showcase our lives, we showcase our food, we showcase the cafes we go to, you know, all the nice stuff that's going to get as much attention, as much likes and views as possible. And when people do give me what I'm craving, which is the attention, it feeds that insatiable beast within me. It's like a drug, it's like an addiction. It makes me want to do more and more and more. Which is why, at first, I may be content with and happy with, let's say, 20 likes, but then 20 is just not going to do it for me. It has to be 30 and 40 and 50, and before you know it, I'm going to, you know, kill my own nephew for 100,000 followers, right? I love my nephews, by the way. I'm just saying, if they're listening to this, which they will, they better. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I would literally do anything and cross religious boundaries, boundaries that I know are sacred and that shouldn't be crossed. This act is haram. It's haram based on the views and opinions of all scholars. Their unanimous view is that this act is haram, but I'll do it anyway. I don't like to name names, I don't like to bring specific examples, but I see this phenomenon growing year after year. Women posing literally as models in the majalis of Imam al-Hussain, in the mawakib, in the shrines of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, actually making moves that are akin to dancing, right? And obviously they're the center of attention. The shrine is a prop for them. It's a prop. It's something they put in the background to make the picture look good. And the picture is all about them. And so not only does this desecrate the legacy of the Ahlul Bayt, the memory of the Imams, the tragedy of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, but then they go a step further and they start doing so with makeup, and they start truly beautifying themselves just to get a little bit more views and more likes. And you know, for me, I'll be honest. People tell me, don't judge, you have no right to judge. You know, this garbage. I'm not judging the person, I'm judging their action. I'm saying their action is what is suitable for the army of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Is that too much for people to bear? Is that like, am I sort of attacking anybody's sensibilities when I say that this action is suitable to the camp of Yazid, not the camp of Imam al-Hussain? These looks, these appearances do not remind me of Ar-Rubab bint Imr al-Qais salamullahi alayh. They don't remind me of Ruqayya and Sakina. They remind me of Hind bint Utbah. And so that doesn't surprise me. You know what shocks me? It's not their actions, it's not their appearance, it's not the way they present themselves. It's the tens of thousands of people that have hit the like button. That's what kills me. Because I can understand that we have a bunch of narcissistic ego maniacs out there trying to use the name of Imam al-Hussain to make themselves famous and to get as many likes and views for themselves. I get that. I get the disease, I understand it, I've diagnosed it. I know it's there. And by the way, it's in all of us. Lest someone say that you're judging and whatnot. No, it's in all of us. But they clearly have not made a good enough job, or any job for that matter, to restrain this beast. I get it when you have narcissistic individuals doing all of these things, but all the likes and comments is what kills me. And what it tells me is that there are way too many people out there who now they've been victimized by the normalization of this phenomenon. This is normal to them. In fact, it's admirable. It's respectful. It's honorable. It's great. Why? Because, she mentioned Lady Zainab. Mentioned Lady Zainab. Do you know what that's like? No offense. But that's like saying, we have a majlis for Imam al-Hussain, but we also give out cups of wine. We're doing something haram in the middle of something that is recommended. Would we ever accept that? Would we ever tolerate something like this? We wouldn't. Although maybe, you never know. Maybe one day this will be normalized as well. The Prophet did say that you will follow in the footsteps of the Jews and the Christians, and whatever hole they went to, you'll follow them right in. Yeah, maybe it'll happen. But for now it's this, right? Haram, blatant, straightforward, clear as daylight. But he mentioned Imam al-Hussain. Don't mention Imam al-Hussain, please. For the love of God, don't mention Lady Zainab, because this is twisting the dagger in the heart of Imam al-Hussein. This is pulling the hijab off of the head of Lady Zainab by doing this. Don't do it. We've run out of time, unfortunately. Anyway, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. How many traditions do we have about the importance of visiting the shrine of Imam al-Hussein? Thousands upon thousands, right? Go even if you risk dying. Go even if you think your ship is going to sink. Go even if the tyrant kills you. How many hadith do we have like that? Imam al-Sadiq himself calls one of his followers one day. He says to him, you know what? I wish you didn't go to Karbala. He says to the Imam, Ya ibn Rasulullah, what do you mean? The Imam says to him, sometimes if you don't go, it's even better. Just sit this one out. Stay at home. He said, why? He said, because when you go there, you have buffets, and my words, not the words of the Imam. The Imam said, you take all kinds of foods, and you treat it like a picnic, essentially. The Imam said to him, if you go to your father's grave and your father had been killed, would you also treat it like a picnic? Would you also stand there and smile with a full face of makeup and pose in front of your father's grave? You wouldn't do that now, would you? This is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. This is Ibn Bint Rasulullah. This is Hujjatullah. What's wrong with you? So I'm not the one who says that maybe people like that should not be on social media. They should not even speak the name of Zainab and Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Sadiq says so. How dare you judge? Imam al-Sadiq is the one judging them. Anyway, we'll wrap up. Inshallah, we'll continue this topic, all important topic, tomorrow. But today I want to take you to a very, very lonely place in Sham. Those of you who have been to the shrine of Ruqayya, the 3-year-old daughter of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, have probably noticed that around this small, unassuming grave of hers, there are a lot of toy stores. Have you noticed that? Why toy stores? Because they sell dolls. And the reason they do that is because the pilgrims and the Zawar, they buy these dolls, they take them inside the shrine of Lady Ruqayya, and they place them on the shelves. And if you ask them, why do you do this? They're like, this is how we treat orphans. When an orphan is crying for her father, we give her a doll to keep her occupied so that she doesn't remember her father, so that she plays with the doll and finds some comfort. Well, I ask you, is this how orphans are generally treated? Because if it is, then why was Ruqayya treated the way she was? Why did Ruqayya bint al-Hussein, every time she asked for her father, جَاءُوا وَضَرَبُوهَا بِالسِّيَاطِ, they would hit her and whip her with their whips? Why is it that every time she cried, she would be beaten and thrown to the ground? Why was she forced to walk on thorns all the way from Karbala to Kufa and then to Sham? بأبي أنت وأمي يا مولاتي يا يتيمة الحسين. In the last 10 nights of Muharram, I never spoke about Lady Ruqayya because I felt like it was too painful for Imam al-Hussein, too painful for Abbas ibn Ali, too painful for Imam al-Zaman. Is this how orphans are treated? I can imagine that along the way, as she traversed the deserts, every time she was beaten, she would say, wait till I see my uncle Abbas, I'll tell him what you did to me. She didn't know what had happened to her father and her uncle, because all she saw, the last thing she saw, was they went towards the battlefield and never came back. But she never knew what happened to them. And so she might say to those vile soldiers. Wait till I meet my father and tell him what you've done to my aunt Zainab. She headed all the way to Kufa and then to Sham. Even while she was in Sham, in the palace of Yazid, some say that Lady Zainab tried to prevent the children from seeing the head of Aba Abdullah al-Hussain. Yes, all she saw was Yazid, that tyrant, raise his scepter and beat something which was in front of him. Aywa Husayna, wa ghariba, wa shahida. But Lady Zainab would stand in their way, making sure that Ruqayya doesn't see that it's her father, Aba Abdullah. Every time she asked about him, they would tell her, Inna abaki fi safar. Your father is on a journey, he is traveling, meaning the journey of the afterlife. But she's too young to understand. So they tried to comfort her and calm her until she woke up from her sleep in the ruins of Shia. She woke up having seen a dream, or maybe she had had enough. She woke up saying, Uridu walidi, Uridu abi. I won't rest until you bring me my father. Aywa waylah wa musibatah. There is no knot that is too strong or big for these little hands of Ruqayya that she cannot untie. All of those people with hajat, right now the Shia in Syria are being persecuted. If you've seen the videos, it broke my heart. He keeps saying, Ya Hussain, and people beat him. They hate us because we love Aba Abdullah. So imagine what those people did to the daughter of Aba Abdullah. She woke up screaming, Uridu walidi. The tyrant was sound asleep. His sleep was disturbed. He woke up and wanted vengeance. He says she wants her father. I will make sure she joins him. He sent the severed head of Aba Abdullah in a bowl that was covered with a cloth. They brought the bowl into the ruins of Sham. The ruins were too dark for her to see her father, let alone recognize him. So you might ask, how did she recognize Aba Abdullah? Even if she could see him, how could she identify Aba Abdullah after what they did to her? I say maybe the reason she recognized him is what we read in Hadith al-Kisa. Ummah, inni ashummu indaki ra'ihatan tayyibah. Maybe it was the fragrance of Aba Abdullah. At first she went towards the bowl, she removed the cloth. When she smelled the fragrance, she took a few steps backwards. She was in shock. Then she went closer and hugged the sacred head. She put Aba Abdullah's head in her tiny lap. Abatah, man alladhi aytamani ala sighar sinni. Father who orphaned me at this age. Abatah, man alladhi, who is the one who dyed your beard with your blood? Ya Zawar habu wabchu alayya bint Hussain ana wasmi Ruqayya. Ya Zawar habu wabchu al-hali. أنا بنت النبي أنا بنت النبي ومن بيت عالي. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.